Welcome to the Same Side Selling Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Altman. How do you overcome the fear of rejection? Let's face it, when you're in B2B sales, it's entirely possible that you're making many phone calls, having many interactions, and feeling a sense of rejection. So how do you overcome that? Because top performers don't face that challenge, but your average and below average performers complain about this all the time. In fact, this is a common thing that I hear from people, which is, how do we deal with this? Our people are facing rejection all the time. And there's a concept that we talk about in same side selling that is about finding the fit or finding impact together. And what this means is the following. It means that we need to seek with our clients an understanding of what impact they're facing by not solving something that we're good at helping them solve. And if in fact they're not having that issue, then it's just not a fit right now for what it is that we do. In fact, what I want you to think about is this. I want you to think of it as puzzle pieces. So if you had a set of puzzle pieces and they said, okay, your puzzle pieces are designed to go with this puzzle, but you only have half the pieces. So go out and find somebody else who has the other puzzle pieces. Well, if you found people, they showed you their puzzle pieces and it wasn't the right puzzle pieces, you wouldn't feel a sense of rejection, would you? No, of course not. You would just feel like, oh, that wasn't a fit. Those aren't the right pieces. Let me go talk to somebody else and see if I can find somebody else who has the right puzzle pieces that fit with our puzzle. It's the same thing in sales and in business. Our goal is not to try and sell our stuff to everybody with a pulse, because what we need to realize is that less than half the people we might talk to, even if we've narrowed it down to people who are in the right industry, the right size business, the right issues going on, less than half of those people will actually have a need right now for what it is that you're really good at doing. And the other half won't. And if you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to convince them that they need whatever it is that you're selling, you're probably going to alienate them. And when they are ready to buy something, they're going to buy it from somebody else. What this means is that we need to make sure that we're always showing up as somebody who is there to solve, not as somebody who is there just to sell. So how do we do that? Well, we do that by focusing on the problems that we solve for people. So instead of reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, let me talk to you about our products and services, instead you reach out and say, only about half the people we talk to are the right fit for what we solve. In fact, people usually come to us to address 2 or 3 common issues that we're seeing as trends in the industry. Would you be open to me sharing with you what those are? And you can tell me whether or not we should continue the conversation. What you've just done is, instead of showing up like, let me show you our stuff, what you're saying is, here's why other people reach out to us. Here are the trends that we're seeing in your industry. But not everyone's the right fit for us, so I don't yet know whether or not I can help you. Let me share these with you and you can tell me whether or not we should continue. What that means is that if you share something that piques their interest, then all of a sudden they're inviting you into their living room. They're inviting you into their conference room. They're inviting you into a conversation to explore whether or not you can help. And your goal at that point is to have an honest conversation to see whether or not you can honestly help them. Once we have that conversation, they say, yeah, you mentioned 3 things. The second one caught my attention. You need to resist at that point the urge to say, oh, let me tell you how we solve that. Instead, you need to navigate the Same Side Quadrants. It's on page 76 in the actual hard copy of the second edition of Same Side Selling. But the Same Side Quadrants, if you Google it, you'll find it as well. The Same Side Quadrants mean that we're focused on their issues. What's the issue they're trying to address? What's the impact of not solving it? How important is that to solve compared to other things on their plate? What does success look like for them? Because if you don't know what success is going to look like, how could you possibly tell them whether or not you can help? And then we make sure that we also know in the 4th quadrant who else is impacted. So issue, impact, importance, results, and others impacted. If you focus on those now, you're showing up as someone who's there to solve, not sell. You're starting the conversation by using the same side pitch of sharing who you help and what types of issues you help other people solve that they come to you to address. acknowledging that not everyone's the right fit for you. And when you do that, if you find somebody who doesn't have one of those issues, if you find someone who isn't ready to address that right now, there's no longer a feeling of rejection because you just found out someone's not a fit. It's kind of like if you were looking to be on a golf team and the golf team was looking for the best golfers and you had never played the game before, you wouldn't feel rejected. You would just say, well, I'm not the right fit for what they're looking for right now. If you were selling size medium shirts to somebody who wears a double XL, you wouldn't feel rejection when they say, oh, I'm not buying your shirt. You would just say, well, this shirt clearly doesn't fit this individual. It's the same thing in business. All we're trying to do is identify a fit. And when we do that, we show up as someone who's there to solve, not sell. Let's face it, none of us likes to feel like we're being sold to. We all get inundated with inbound requests that we ignore. Why? Because we don't like to feel like someone is selling us something. So do the same thing in your business. Focus on fit, finding impact together. Have the discussion with your client or potential client about why other people come to you to address certain issues and see whether or not one of those piques their interest. And if it does, then you have something worth talking about. And if not, there's no rejection. We just found somebody who's not a fit for what we do right now. If there are topics you'd like me to address, just drop me a note to ian@ianaltman.com. If this topic was helpful, or if there's a peer or colleague you say, hey, they should listen to this, please share it, like it, subscribe, any of those crazy things. And I will see you next week on the Same Side Selling Podcast. So long.